I'm JG Michael, and this is Parallax Views. Hey there, Parallax Views listeners. Independent media matters, and your support makes it possible. If Parallax Views has challenged your thinking, exposed you to new ideas, or simply kept you company on your commute, now's the time to help sustain it. Listen, share, and if you can, support the show on Patreon at patreon.com/parallaxviews. One more time, that's patreon.com/parallaxviews. If you want, you can also make a one-time donation by contacting me at parallaxviewspod@protonmail.com. I can give you a link to my PayPal page if you contact me that way. Let's show what listener-supported media can do. Hey there, Parallax Views listeners. On this edition of the show, we're going to be hearing from a very interesting and some would say controversial guest who is at the center of scandal involving Trump, Rudy Giuliani, and attempts to get dirt on the Bidens by way of Ukraine. I'm talking about Lev Parnas, a man who worked with Rudy Giuliani in Trump world until legal troubles and a conviction, coupled with Donald Trump claiming to have never even known him, among other things that disillusioned him, led him to turn on MAGA. Some hail him as a whistleblower who got railroaded. Others question his credibility due to the aforementioned conviction. In any case, when I was offered a chance to interview Lev Parnas, I thought I cannot turn this down, especially given that he has had a lot to say recently about the Jeffrey Epstein case. Particularly the latest development, which is, of course, United States Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche meeting soon with Ghislaine Maxwell in prison. What's that all about? Lev Parnas has his own thoughts on that and much, much more. So with that being said, let's get right to the conversation. And by the way, I do mispronounce both Blanche's and Ghislaine's name in the course of this conversation. That's really embarrassing, but mistakes are made occasionally. My apologies. So, with that in mind, here's my conversation with Lev Parnas. Welcome to Parallax Views, a guest that I'm very interested to be speaking with. He will be honored at the 2025 Whistleblower Summit in about a week or two here on July 30th. I'm speaking with Lev Parnas, Ukrainian-American whistleblower. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me, JG. Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm doing well. Maybe before we get into what will be happening at this 2025 Whistleblower Summit, for my listeners, what should they know about who Lev Parnas is? Because I know there's a lot of different takes on your story out there. What's your story in your own words?
First of all, I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm an American citizen, somebody that loves our country. I was born in the former Soviet Union. I came here when I was 4 years old. I'm also an immigrant, so I have a lot of different things that, bring my story to light. I grew up, first of all, I came here to the United States from a country that we were prosecuted and basically fled to be able to have freedom, to be able to have the right to vote, the right to speak, the right to be able to live in a free country, not like what we see today. And I grew up in some really interesting parts of New York. It was a little part called Brighton Beach, was now what we call Little Odessa. Just like you have Chinatown and Little Italy, this was a little enclave by the ocean where former Soviet Jews immigrated to and basically built a little home for ourselves. My father passed away when I was 11 years old, so I kind of grew up really quickly on the streets of New York, and looked up to people like some of probably most of the most powerful men and gangsters that you've read about, or seen documentaries about at an early age because of my connections and having fluently being able to speak both Russian and English. I was sent over to the back then it was still the Soviet Union, and then eventually while I was there during the fall of the Soviet Union became Russia, and I was able to meet and see all of these interesting people that now you call oligarchs, now you call people that are back then, they were regular businessmen. They were regular factory owners. Most of them were even in prison, criminals. I also got to, obviously be in the same circles with Vladimir Putin before he was the president, when he was still a KGB agent, when he was still the mayor of St. Petersburg, and go through those time eras. So I've went through a lot in my life, and I've met a lot of different people, seen a lot of different things, from like I said, all over the world, but also spending a lot of time here during the penny stock era on Wall Street, uh, being running card games for some of the most powerful players in Beverly Hills, and eventually, getting tied up, with Donald Trump and ending up in the White House and being sent to Ukraine to dig up dirt on the Bidens and do some of Donald Trump, some of his most dirtiest work. Um, and eventually, they tried to shut me up. They tried to arrest me, make me the fall guy, and make me keep quiet. I ended up speaking truth to power. First, doing an interview on Rachel Maddow, then giving evidence, over 300 articles of impeachment evidence in his first impeachment against Donald Trump. 100 of those articles are mine. And then after coming out of prison, testifying in Congress under oath in the sham impeachment of President Joe Biden at the time in the Oversight Committee. After I testified, basically the impeachment got shut down and that ended. I've written a book. I'm an author. The
Right.
book is called
Shadow
Shadow.
diplomacy, right?
Yeah, it's called Shadow Diplomacy. You could get it on levremembers.com. That's LEVREMEMBERS.com. And also, I've been the center of a very incredible documentary by the incredible Rachel Maddow and Billy Corbin and Alfred Spellman. It was Rachel's first movie documentary she's done. We were just nominated for an Emmy for that also. So I guess that's it. That's a quick.
I wanted to ask specifically about how did you first become involved with the sort of Giuliani sphere, so to speak.
It's interesting. Well, I always ran in the circles of like the Donald Trumps of the world, that because back in the '90s, Donald Trump, when the fall of the Soviet Union came, most of that money was funneled through New York real estate, and Donald Trump was one of the main one in allowing his properties to launder a lot of that Russian money. That's where his first relationship and real tight end came into that, Russian organized crime, right? Russian oligarchy and seeing their real money. So it was, kind of being in that world and always being around that led me to finally, when Trump announced that he's going to go and run for office, run for presidency, me and a couple of people decided to hold a fundraiser for him. And in that fundraiser, that was the turning point. He was supposed to be there only for 20 minutes. He was there for an hour and a half. At that dinner, me and him spoke for about an hour. And like I say it in the movie, I was Trumpanized, Coltonized, Meganized, whatever you want to call it. But after that, literally, I spent every day with him, from traveling to debates with Hillary Clinton in Vegas to his, until he actually won in New York at the Hilton, and then afterwards.
What led to you being, as you put it that way, like maganized, or what drew you into the cult, so to speak, of Trump world?
Well, for anybody to get drawn into any cult, each cult has a mission. Some are religious, some are power, some are so you have to have something inside of you that would drag you into something like that. And growing up on the streets of New York, wanting to have the power, the money, the influence, and all of that type of things that I looked at, worshipped, you could say at that time. Donald Trump was the basically epiphany of all of that. It wrapped up into one. And now here he was running for president of the United States, a regular guy, not a politician, somebody like I could relate to, a hustler, somebody, that from the streets of New York. And I remember him sitting back. Actually, we were in a house. The guy that threw the party, it was $140 million house. It was called La Pasal. It was like an estate in Boca Raton, Florida, on the ocean. And as Donald Trump looked out into the ocean, I remember him turning around and saying something to the effect that I don't need this. I'm doing this for the common guy. We need to get rid of the deep state, the politicians, and being able to give our kids, our grandkids a better life. And I remember him saying that. And after, us standing there and relating, I was like, shit, I could relate to that. I mean, like that because, I was never involved in politics. I never voted prior to that. And that kind of got me on on the MAGA train.
And then I want to go into like bigger picture topics, but maybe you could talk a little bit about um, your involvement with Trump and Ukraine, the sort of Trump Ukraine scandal, and how this all involved, trying to get information on Joe Biden.
Well, it all started from yeah, actually Russiagate. What we hear about today, even today, he's going after Obama, literally talking about that this whole Russiagate was a whole setup to take him out. But back then, he didn't. The way he was trying to shut down the Russiagate was to he had people on the inside like Giuliani. They were working with Paul Manafort that had really good connections in Ukraine and Russia. They were trying to shift the blame and say it wasn't the Russians that interfered; it was the Ukrainians, and they blamed the Russians. And back then, that's when the Ukrainians came out with the Paul Manafort, the Black Ledger. If you remember, that's what started his downfall. He was Trump's manager, campaign manager at the time, and so that's when the shift was towards Ukraine. I have my background was I'm Ukrainian. My partner was had business in Ukraine and had very good contacts over there. And when we became heavy donors and part of the inner circle, one I remember what first of all the subject of Russiagate, Ukraine, and all of this stuff would be a constant conversation piece 24/7 in that cult environment, and each and every one of us would look and try to figure out ways of saving the democracy, saving Donald Trump, helping with whatever we could. And I'll never forget that one day we were sitting in the Grand Havana room in New York. It's a cigar bar. We were having Rudy and me and Igor. They were having cigars, drinks, and Rudy gets a call from Trump. And as he got a call from Trump, Rudy got up to take the call like he would usually do to walk away. And at the moment, we were talking about Ukraine, and Igor shows me that video of Joe Biden saying that if you don't, talking about how he got rid of the prosecutor, Ukrainian prosecutor, by saying if you don't fire the prosecutor, we're not going to give you $1 billion. And I'll never forget, Rudy came back with Trump just hanging up, and we showed him the video. And Rudy looked at the video and said, "Oh shit, we got you, Joe. We got him." And right after that, he turned around and just like in a Wise Guy movie, he looked at Igor and me and said, "Igor, give me $20." Igor gave him $20. He said, "Now we have attorney-client privilege. I'm also just Trump's attorney, your attorney, and now all of us are together." And literally within the next 2 weeks, we were at the White House going over a plan with Trump in the Red Room. And next, a week later, we were in Ukraine on the ground, start digging up dirt on the Bidens.
This brings me to an interesting point I wanted to get into with you, which is, you know, I think it's fairly well known. Trump's ties with like Russian mob figures and whatnot. But how deep does the rabbit hole go when it comes to Trump world? Because I think sometimes we may end up focusing just on Trump Russia ties when it seems like he's very transactional and opportunistic with anyone that he thinks can help him, whether it's the United Arab Emirates, the Saudis. It seems like he does this with a lot of different countries. Can you speak to that at all? The sort of transactional and opportunistic nature of Trump world and figures like Giuliani and Trump?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, well, first of all, Trump is very transactional, and that's one thing he doesn't discriminate when it comes there's money. If you have money and you have, he doesn't care what color, what race, what religion you are, he looks the other way. Till then, he's very, otherwise very particular, when it comes to race, gender, and all these other things, unless when there's transactional money involved. There's when it comes to the Arabs and the Emirates and the Qataris and all of that, that's just recently. He started feeling that taste of that money towards the end when he left, and they gave $2 billion over to Jared Kushner. That was the beginning of that relationship, and that's why you see now with flourishing with him doing that Middle East tour,
You mean at the end of
and
his first term, or
at the end of his first term, correct. But prior to that, he saw money go from the first. It was the Italian mob. He saw money being made through the casinos, through the rackets of the labor unions and all of that, the buildings and the real estate. In the 90s, he switched over and saw the power of the Russian oligarchy, the Russian mob, the Russian money. And then, so that's why you see him linked towards all of these different sections that have transactionals. And when you say how deep does it go, I mean, you have to understand, even like look at Steve Witkoff. Steve Witkoff, the guy that I write about, talk about a lot, that is in the middle of all of these negotiations. I mean, between the Middle East and Russia, the only person that's met with Vladimir Putin 4 times in the first 100 days of Trump's presidency, and not even any of his national security advisors. This is a guy that was Trump's lawyer. He's also a real estate guy, also involved with a lot of these Russian oligarchy mobsters that bought real estate apartments through the 90s with them. So it's the same story. I mean, most of the same players, most of the same people that Putin has implemented and pushed out there over the past 20, 30 years to basically spread their seeds all over the world are the same people that have been dealing and buying real estate for people like Donald Trump and Steve Witkoff and others. But they also are part of the people that have been planting all the seed money when it comes to Silicon Valley, when it comes to the Elon Musks, when it comes to the Peter Thiels, when it comes to all of that. That's why they have a very tremendously close relationship with Russian ties because, again, it goes back to money, transactional, and the way a lot of these companies and businesses and wealth has been accumulated.
so how should people understand all of this? Is it that is Trump like a dupe for foreign powers, or is it are they duping him and he's trying to dupe them and it's all sort of transactional? How should we understand this?
Well, he's a useful idiot that's trying to be a student of autocracy. And that's what I tell. So, no, he's not an asset. He's not somebody that went to Russia and basically now he works for Russia and KGB, gets orders, and then goes and does things for them. He doesn't do that. He's a useful idiot, meaning that he looks up to people like Vladimir Putin, wants to please them, and knows what things that they want done to get pleased and does it for them. And that's where the useful idiot comes in. But he does it for another purpose, not just to please him because he wants to be in that circle, but he's trying to implement and imitate the same thing that they have, like in their countries over here in the United States. And that's why you see him doing, from the parade, military parades on his birthday to, shutting down newspapers, independent journalists, to going after, to stripping, due process, your rights and immigration rights, election reform, all of that, is part of what Putin does in his country. It's the same thing that Kim Jong-un does in North Korea, same thing Iran. So all of these major leaders that he praises, that he talks about, that are powerful, that he looks up to, he really is learning from them and trying to do the same thing. And he says that out open. He says, look, I want, when Kim Jong Un walks walks in and everybody stands there and claps and looks up to him. I want everybody to do that for me. I want to have that same respect. I want people to listen. I don't want people to. He wants the same thing because of his narcissism and because of him wanting to be that dictator. So he's a useful idiot that is also a student of authoritarianism.
Now, one thing you've been writing a lot about lately is the Jeffrey Epstein case and how this could become a much bigger problem for Trump in terms of his base. As someone who was inside MAGA world for some time, I mean, do you see this as being a potential breaking point for a lot of MAGA?
As somebody that was I'm the original MAGA. I was the first 100 original MAGA, and I could tell you that not only is it breaking, but it has ruptured MAGA. And I wrote about in my Substack, and is that Trump broke MAGA, and he's not. You can't bring the butterflies back in. Yes, will some of them come back because they just won't? They're so far right. They'll make excuses in 3, 6 months from now just not to vote for the Democrats. Absolutely, but there's a big contingency in the MAGA that have took it so personally because this is more than just a promise. This is more than just uncovering the deep state and uncovering all of this political virtue. This hits hard to a lot of the people's beliefs, religion, and also just like myself, it hits home because anybody that has a child, anybody that has a daughter, anybody that has a sister, a mother, a son, and anybody that when you talk about child sex trafficking, when you talk about child pedophilia, when you talk about even any type of sexual trafficking and all of this type of stuff and the things we hear, when you're talking about thousands of victims. Thousands of victims. When you talk about as young as 13 to 16 years old, orgies, people coming on what's it called? I mean, all of this, and to be able to shut it down and not to cover up, I think is something that not only mega is it's he is the biggest mistake of Trump's world because whoever he's covering up for, because yes, he's definitely covering up for himself. He's part of all over the place, but he's also covering up for some other very powerful people that are involved in there.
I want to get deeper into that if we could, but I also wanted to ask you about it seems like there's a lot of these sort of like sexual deviance around Trump. I mean, even Giuliani himself was accused of sexual assault by Noel Dunphy, and then George Nader, a lobbyist who was associated with the UAE, also had sexual abuse of children. Why are all these sort of predators surrounding themselves with Trump?
Well, I think most of you'll see if you see a predator mentality. Again, I'm not a specialist when it comes to sexual deviance or predators, but I could tell you, you see a lot of that when it comes to powerful people. And what I've noticed around power, when you start reaching a certain power plateau, when money is already not the object, see, because first people want to become wealthy. And then once they become wealthy, they want to become powerful because then wealth is not just that they want to be, treated with a different way where, they try either buy it power or influence power, but then power is the next level. And when they get power, that's where the all of this crazy deviance gets because once they reach that plateau of invincibility in their mind that they could do anything to anybody, then it starts off with you know maybe embarrassing the waiter because he
It's
brought the
almost like
food they want to go.
not to interrupt you, it's almost like they develop like an urge to dominate others for the thrill
Yeah,
of it.
no, and that's part of it because it's the next step. And it comes from the narcissism that they originally have inside of them. So, like I said, it could be from screaming at the delivery guy because he brought the food 2 minutes late, or because the busboy didn't bring the lobster at the right temperature. What I'm saying, to then eventually making people do sexual and perverted things because at the end of the day it's all about mind control. It's about making somebody do something that you have over them that you can make them do it if they want to or they don't. That's the ultimate power I've noticed when it gets to that world.
Now, in regards to Epstein, do you see any parallels between how you broke from Trump and how now a good portion of MAGA is breaking from Trump. Uh, do you see any parallels, or do you see any like what do you think the primary reasons are for this breakup? I mean, obviously calling your own supporters idiots and I don't want you anymore, but it's really wild seeing Trump turn on, what may be around half of his base.
Well, it's a little bit different because when I broke, I broke out and coming out to speak truth to power. I was inside his inner circle, watching his mega base, the cult. I mean, that's not his inner circle. These are people that are still making excuses for him. Are still, if they had to vote today, would probably vote for him. As crazy as it sounds. So it's not like, when I say we won and we got their votes and we got no, there's still a lot of work to be done to make sure that, we secure 2026, especially with what he's doing with election reform, Stephen Miller, Project 2025, and all this other stuff that he's implementing. But when it comes to if do I feel it's the same thing? No, because they're not coming out and talking about him. They're just coming out pissed, giving excuses why he's covering up. They're not blaming him. They're giving him excuses saying, oh, he might be threatened by the deep state. He might be, held hostage. I mean, I'm hearing all kinds of crazy and insinuous stuff of why he's doing it, except for the most simple and plain reason is to protect his own ass and people that are on that list. That's it. But they'll blame Pam Bondi. They're trying to do everything possible because they understand that once he's the fall guy, once he's at fault, once they agree, then mega is over.
Well, then this is a golden opportunity then for Democrats, is it not? I mean,
Absolutely.
what can Democrats do? I think you've been very adamant about this. That keep on the Epstein thing has sort of been your motto as of late.
Yeah. Well, yes and no. Definitely keep but one of the things I'm going to be speaking when I'm going to be in Washington, receiving my Pillar Award, I'm going to meet with other congressmen and senators there and talk because the message has to be, first of all, unified. Second of all, right now, what's important for people to understand is, look, we have to understand reality and fact, and we are a divided country between the Democrats and the Republicans. Even when we talk about mega, we could go deeper into how divided we are. You are not going to be able to take, let's say, for instance, AOC or Bernie Sanders or a hardcore Democratic podcaster to go into mega country right now, even though they're ruptured, even though they hate Trump for doing what he's doing, to come in there and be able to explain to them, you need to come over to either the right side or don't vote for him at all. Whatever the message is to try to get that vote away from him, you can't do it because the second they walk in there, all of the anger towards Trump disappears and it becomes right away saying, because they know you are biased, you have your own reason, and it's a divided country. So my message is you need to start Democrats, the Democratic leadership, not the voters, have to wake up and start using the ammunition that we have. You have people like me that are part of mega that was the originators of mega that they still till this day I could go on any mega social media platform and they will allow me to speak. They will respect whether they might not agree or like me. We'll get into arguments because I'm usually destroying and trashing their leader, Donald Trump. But they relate to me because they know I'm not far left. I'm not that I come there, that we might agree on certain policies. And that's why they will relate with me. Whereas on the left, so they need to start using, the leadership needs to start using the secret weapons that we have, like myself and others that we used to be part of MAGA that could relate to them. They could go into right now, have these town halls, and slowly within the next year start building a coalition. Because what I say is, we don't need all of these votes to come over and vote for Democrat because it's a strategic. If we could get them just not to vote, it's a huge win. Because Trump won by some of the most minor, what's it called, minimal amount of votes in all over the country. So it's not like he won by this tremendous margin. So you have to be strategic. We don't have to try to go debate and try to prove every point right now. We'll get to that. Right now, what we need to do, the only point we should be talking about as everybody, Democrat, Independent, Republican, whoever is against the tyranny of Donald Trump, is we need to have a unified message to save our democracy. So we could then get back to debating policies, talking about what you like or what I don't like, and disagreeing or disagreeing. Because right now we don't have any of that. Right now it's either Trump's way or the highway. He has the courts, the Supreme Courts, he has the Congress, he has the Senate, he has every single thing. But the only thing we have in our favor right now is the mega base is blown up. With that, it's leaking into Congress, it's leaking into elections. And also, we have another secret weapon that we need to embrace, not to forgive and forget about this person is, but embrace to, again, save our democracy and deal with it later. And that person is Elon Musk. He knows where a lot of just like I do. Trust me, Elon knows where a lot of those bodies are buried. And this whole Epstein thing started with Elon Musk. It started with Elon coming out and making those tweets. So that's my message, and that would be my overall message to everybody here. It's unity. Keep the eye on the ball. One message, simple message. He's giving it to you. We don't need to chase all of these crazy. We don't need that P tape, because at the end of the day, we know who Donald Trump is. Nothing out there, no other thing that we're going to find that's going to show us that he's even more disgusting than what he is. He's a convicted sexual predator in the E.G. Carroll case. He's it. It's convicted. He's a convicted felon in New York State. It's a fact. These are all facts. He's admitted himself on Howard Stern interviews and others that he's a sexual predator, that he likes young girls. There's plenty of video, audio evidence of him hanging out with Epstein. There's Epstein's own words talking about going back as late as 2017 about his relationship with Trump. So these are all facts. The fact that, there might be some more foolish stuff. Do we really need to see a video of Donald Trump sleeping with an underage girl to finally say that's it? Do we really need that? I mean, that's what I'm saying to you. We need to understand what else is happening over there. Who are the other people that are involved in this cabal that are, abusing all these kids? And we need justice. We need those voices to be heard, and we're those the extension. And that's why I say it's a double whammy. It's the straw that broke MAGA's back, and also I think it's something that we need to do, and get justice for all of those kids, all of those women, all of those voices that don't have it, and get justice for them.
So I know one thing that you said that's going to be controversial for some of my listeners is the comments about Elon Musk. Make your case. I want to hear this. Why do
Absolutely.
you think we should wholeheartedly embrace him, or?
No, no, and that's why I started, I said, and this is a very important part of the Democratic Party, which I went through myself, because it's very difficult. For many years, I would get probably a lot of people on your side, and your listeners that didn't accept me right away. They called me also mega traitor, and I had to go through years and years of showing, of what, trying to do the right thing, till eventually now, people understand what I stand for, and I've gotten over that. I'm not saying Elon Musk to do the same thing. He needs to, if he ever wants redemption, if he ever wants to come clean, if he ever wants to go do it, that's different. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is right now we're at war. We're trying to save our democracy. Elon Musk right now is a traitor. He's basically playing both sides, but he has information. He has information. He has ammunition that we could use to help keep the division and the breakup in that case. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. Let him throw this money and primary all of these Republican seats. Let him go out there and try to put this third party together, because he's not going to take away any Democratic votes. Just like you said, there's not one Democrat that's going to go vote for Elon Musk third party, but there's a shitload of independents that Maha, the what's it called, Kennedy people that came in towards the end, and a lot of the Republicans that will jump on it that right now are hating. So what I'm saying to you is, use what God is giving us, and the powers.
I'm glad you mentioned Kennedy there. I was wondering, what do you think about some of the people around Trump, like RFK Jr. Do you feel like they have their own agendas at
Absolutely.
play? Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, RFK is planning for 2028. 2028, they're going to be a bloodbath between all of them. You got JD Vance and his own crew planning. You have Trump trying to stay in power past 2028. Bannon's pushing it. You got, and then you got, what's his name? RFK that's trying to put his own cabal together to go after it. And because there's no loyalty in that. That's why I said to you, it's not like they're all one side. They basically, what put them all together was all of their hatred towards the left. That's what brought them together. Even Elon Musk. I mean, Elon Musk and Donald Trump have nothing in common. Elon Musk probably has more in common with your or 90% of your listeners and your viewers than anybody on the right. So that's how crazy it is. But he sold his soul for money, power, and and everything else. And that's what it comes down to.
I also wanted to ask you about a figure that came up in the news today, the Assistant Attorney General Todd Blanche. Uh, Maybe you could speak about him. I know that you wrote a piece about him today, just hours before we started talking on your Substack. Trump sends in his fixer to silence Maxwell before the truth gets out. So let's get into this. This is about Ghislaine Maxwell, and Todd Blanche is apparently meeting with her very soon.
Yeah, so I mean, this is some very important stuff I've been talking about all day, and I think it's first of all, I want to do a disclaimer that from what I'm saying here, there's no way to be interpreted that I'm defending or advocating for Maxwell to get a least letter better sentence, or because in my opinion, I think she's even more complicit and more dangerous and more responsible for what happened to these kids and women that have Epstein. Now, with that said, though, she does have a lot of information. And Todd Blanche, the assistant attorney general, is somebody I know very well. He happened to be prior to becoming Donald Trump's lawyer and attorney general. He was Paul Manafort's lawyer. You all know who Paul Manafort was, and while being Paul Manafort's lawyer, he then joined my legal team when I got arrested. When I got into the break with Trump and told them to go screw themselves, he stayed on to represent my partner Igor. So me and Todd Blanche have a very long history where he went from being my, trying to protect me to all of a sudden becoming my adversary, from going to contradicting things that I would report in the newspaper to actually then going fighting me when in the first impeachment of Donald Trump when we went to try to give the oversight impeachment committee articles, the evidence that I had to show that he was complicit. Todd Blanche went on behalf of Trump and my partner and tried to seal those documents. So I know how Todd Blanche works, and I know very well how that whole operation works. And right now, what you're seeing play out is very dangerous because, first of all, this is not normal. The fact that they fired Maureen Comey, it was a strategic play. It wasn't because she was a Comey. They could have fired her anytime. They fired her right before they're going to speak to Epstein, I mean Maxwell. Comey was the lead prosecutor on the Epstein case and the Maxwell case. So if she was still on, she would have to go right now and be part of these conversations. But that's why they fired her because right now they don't need no ears, they don't need no evidence. I'm starting to watch the way the I mean Maxwell's camp is sending lawyers, sending messages to Trump, thanking him for looking into this investigation, thanking him for meeting with Barr. Uh, you have to keep in mind, and for all the viewers, pedophilia and all of these nasty things that Epstein was involved with doesn't have no race, doesn't have color, doesn't have party affiliation. It doesn't matter if they were Republicans, Democrats, there's lots of people on there. And some of them were targeted Democrats because of certain political policies that Epstein and Israel and other things that were going on behind the scenes. So I'm worried from what I'm hearing behind the scenes is that this is going to be a play of shutting her up to giving Trump a clean slate, meaning saying that where she's going to basically say Trump had nothing to do with anything, was never around, and giving his mega base some red meat by coming out and revealing some dirt on some maybe high profile Democrat that is not financially involved with Donald Trump right now. And in the way that he'll be able then to try to spin it, where here is, something at the same time trying to clear his name. And that is why as I wrote in my Substack, you see the heavy hitters like Todd Blanche being sent in with no witnesses and nothing being, and then later on, she'll be turned into a mega hero. Trump will say she's uncovered a deep state, and will not pardon her, but probably will give her a commutation, which is similar, letting her end the sentence sooner.
So maybe you could speak a little bit about how the sort of Trump world figures and figures associated with the administration sort of play, I guess, distraction games, because you talk about that a bit in this Substack article with Tulsi and with Todd Blanche. What are the sort of plays they make to distract their base from the Epstein story?
Well, I mean, they've been trying. I'll give you one thing. I criticize the media big time. If you read my Substack, I go after the media a lot. But I give it to them that, either they've been following me on Substack and finally listening to what I've been saying, but they've held this since July 4th. For 2 weeks now, we've held this in the spotlight, and that's why you're seeing these cracks. That's why you're seeing all of these moves, the desperation moves by Trump, because the media has held his feet to the fire and haven't left and walked away from it. So, I think that's why it's extremely important. I apologize. What was your question? Because I just got thrown off.
I was wondering if you could speak more to the ways in which they're using distractions to
Oh,
distract
yes.
people.
So let's talk about the distractions that they're using right now that didn't work. First of all, they opened up an investigation into Comey and Brennan. Didn't work. They they went ahead now. They're talking about that Tulsi Gabbard issued a criminal referral about Obama. Now they're talking about the Russian gate that they're going to go. So basically, he's constantly tariffs. The announcement that all of a sudden he's going to give weapons to Ukraine, which he's really not giving them. That he's going to go hard on Russia, which he's in the meantime giving him 50 days. All of these type of things meant to change the news cycle, to change it. And the biggest one was with the Obama stuff, that they're going to go after him for treason. He even posted a video, disgustingly enough, AI generated video of Obama getting arrested at the Oval at the White House. And today, again, he proceeded and pushed it. So these are some of the ways, because in all reality, the Obama's not getting arrested, folks. Even if you were going to believe that he did something wrong, just the fact that the Supreme Court said that President Donald Trump himself has immunity from presidential. So the fact that he's talking about going after Obama is one of the biggest distractions that you could possibly imagine. And because he's throwing names, he keeps throwing the Biden name. The one thing I will tell you that it was sad to see how Hunter Biden stepped into it. Out of all times, he couldn't wait till the news cycle, came in, with his anger towards the world. It was kind of, which right now you see Fox and the right, that's all they're running with.
I also wanted to ask you about the Wall Street Journal dropping that sort of bombshell letter, the handwritten letter from Trump to Epstein. What do you make of that? And I know you wrote about the Bongino Trump split in relation to this. How real is that split?
Oh, it's real. It's the split is I mean, the relationship is faltered, just like the mega split, because you gotta understand, Bongino built his whole career, podcast money, like for the past God knows how many years, talking about Epstein, and the case and coming in, and the fact the way it was handled and covered up, he wanted to leave. There was reporting. I reported on it that he was going to leave. Trump called him up. This is where I don't have the exact. Either he begged him or he threatened him, but one or the other. And Bongino stayed behind, because the second Bongino leaves the White House, that's going to be another volcano that explodes, because Bongino is not okay with the Epstein cover up that is happening. But the letter and Bongino are two different things. The Wall Street Journal, that's Epstein, and not Epstein, Maxwell. That's messages coming from Maxwell, and that's why you've seen right after the Wall Street Journal letter coming out. All of a sudden, who did they meet with? Who did Rupert Murdoch meet with right afterwards? JD Vance. And right after JD Vance, yeah, go ahead.
What do you mean by messages coming from Maxwell? Can you explain more?
Sure. So Maxwell's been wanting to talk. She's been and the Republicans covered her up. They wouldn't allow her to. They wouldn't even allow her to appeal, support her appeal case for a new trial, and they were shutting her up. Her family wrote a letter. Her lawyers were coming out. So she was giving messages that she wanted to talk, but no, but Trump and the DOJ wouldn't listen until all of a sudden the Wall Street Journal leaked this letter, 50-year-old birthday letter from Trump. Now, there's only few people that would have that type of letter. Maxwell would be one of them because she was the one that would plan the birthday parties for Epstein and all of this. She would be the one coordinating these letters. So she, out of, oh, if I had to take an educated guess of who would have that letter to be able to pass it on, I would say it's her. And if you watch the way the events played out right afterwards, if I don't bet, but if I was a betting man, I would bet that this is what happened. I mean Maxwell leaked the stuff to the Washington Post. Trump got pissed off, went after Murdoch, telling him, "Don't go there." Murdoch told him, "I have the goods. I'm going there." Trump then had to appease his mega base by suing for $10 billion. Not because that case is going to go somewhere or that, but it's a placeholder to at least for his mega base to say, oh, he went after him, he's suing them, and because he already has a precedent of going after CBS, ABC, and taking them out. But then a day ago, JD Vance was sent to meet up with Murdoch. That was the discussion about what do you really have? After that conversation with Murdoch, today, all of a sudden you have Todd Blanche saying, we're going to go speak to Maxwell. I mean, and that's why I write about my Substack. It's when you know these people, and with my sources on the inside, that's why I constantly connect the dots because it's very difficult. It's like being in, 20 feet waves and trying to see where the land is. It's very difficult because you're constantly getting another waves coming and hitting you. And this is how they do with the inflow of information. And that's why I try to do on my Substack is break it down where I take all the militia out, I unpeel it for you, and I give you the inside look of exactly what you should be looking at, what you should be worried about, and what you can be doing to fix it instead of being distracted by all of this other militia.
So, yeah, I think that's an important point that you brought up. You're not just basing this off of having known people in MAGA world in the past or reading articles or analyzing the news. You have sources inside. I mean, I know you
Oh,
can't name them, but you do have inside sources on all of this stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And the best way, the best thing I love about Substack that my son Aaron brought me to it is because it's all evident. You could see when I wrote the article, it's time stamped. You could see when I did the interview, it's time stamped. And I welcome everybody to go through it and take a look at even the last few weeks of my reporting, day by day, and when the breaking news, when I reported, and when the news broke, how it broke, and how it came together, and you'll understand.
I just had three more questions. The first is there anything I haven't covered with regards to this Trump Epstein blowing up of MAGA that you think needs to be said right now?
You pretty much covered everything I have seen. My message is to keep your eye on the ball, don't get distracted, and making sure that it keeps alive. The story keeps alive and keeps moving. Oh, excuse me, keeps moving.
And the second question I had was maybe you can talk a little bit about what you hope to accomplish while in Washington, D.C., where you'll be receiving the Pillar Award at the Whistleblower Summit and Film Festival.
Well, first of all, I'm extremely honored and humbled to be able to receive the award and to be able to be a part of that. But at the same time, while I'm there, I'm going to try to spread the message, speak to other congressmen, senators, leaders in the community to be able to spread the message about unity and about how I feel we could properly right now go start picking off some of the mega voices and mega votes for 2026 to be able to secure our elections in the midterms.
The last thing I wanted to ask you, and I hope this doesn't come off as I'm going to have listeners that will say, well, Lev is like a self-admitted hustler. I think there was a Politico article that I read about you where you said you were the hustler that was hustled by the Trump people. And there's going to be a listener or two that will say to me, well, why should we trust Lev if he's a lifelong hustler? And I was wondering if you could maybe defend yourself a bit on that.
Well, and I like to the way I defend myself. First of all, being a hustler is not a bad thing. Hustling, making money, hustling, trying around. You could find it in different ways. Being a hustler is not being a liar. The one thing that I've never been is ever not even accused of lying in anything except for but the Southern District of New York, which was a phony. But the best way I say to you, you don't have to like me, you don't have to believe me. Everything I talk about, I have the receipts. It's factual and proven. That's why you could read about thousands of stories and articles that have been written that have been talked about from the New York Times to the Washington Post and some of the most major newspapers out there, to my documentary that Rachel Maddow did on me that was scrutinized by MSNBC and some of the top lawyers, to my book that Donald Trump sues anybody, but Donald Trump does not sue me or go after me. There's plenty of reasons why you could validate for yourself that what I'm saying is truth and fact. And again, at the end of the day, I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to build a community or of some kind of a show where, this a reality show. I'm here doing this for one reason, is because good, bad, or indifferent, I was put into this position, and now I'm trying to do right for all the bad that I caused. Trying to do right by my family, trying to do right by my country, and trying to do right even for myself as a human being. So I let people, I let my work, my truth that I speak to power do its own talking for itself. And I welcome everybody to go do their own due diligence and validate everything that I speak about. Because once you do, I promise you, you will not think of me the same way. You will join our family. You will join our movement. You will join our resistance, because what we're doing here on Substack and other platforms is nowhere else, because I am speaking truth to power, because I was part of Donald Trump's mega inner circle cult. I was the person he sent to Ukraine, and I'm the one that is standing and speaking up to him for till now.
Well, I want to thank you again, Lev Parnas, for coming on Parallax Views. And I believe your Substack is what, the first or second most read Substack in the world right now. So keep up the good work on that front. And thank you so much. Anything else you want to plug or say in closing?
I mean, basically, no. I mean, please subscribe to my Substack because that's where I do, all my reporting, and that's where I speak truth to power. That's the one platform right now that is not being shut down by Donald Trump yet and his cohorts. But what I hear because part of, having authoritarianism and a dictatorship is to shut down our free speech. And that's why each and every one of you is an extension of my voice. And if you believe and if you see the truth that I speak, please spread the message. Go tell 3, 4 more people out there, because the only way we're going to get our democracy back is in numbers. And we need to spread the truth, because the truth has no color. The truth has no party affiliation. The truth has no religion. The truth is the truth. And that's the one thing Donald Trump keeps trying to change, hide, and bury. We can't let him do that.
This edition of Parallax Views is brought to you by the $10 and above tier supporters of Parallax Views on Patreon. So, with that in mind, producers credit shoutouts to Galen, Matt, Gunnar, Mark, Simon, Alexander, Catherine, G, Tilo, Emilia, Jeremy, Jeff, WV, John, Bert, Brian, Elliot, Darko, Michael, Brace, James, Nick, Mark M, Mersham, Galen, Gareth, Arlen, Bo, Christopher, Michael, Gigadelic Media, Will, Chance, Chase, JC, Dan, Big Bob, David H, Y. Kellerman, Saded 13, Kathleen, David, Ava, Bob, The West Bank Robbery Podcast, Jamie, Enoch, Gary, Max, Ishtofer, James, Martin, Matthew Ho, Brian, Nobody, Thomas, and Dano. Well, that does it for this edition of Parallax Views. As always, please consider supporting me on Patreon at patreon.com/parallaxviews. One more time, that's patreon.com/parallaxviews. And with that being said, until next time, you've been listening to Parallax Views with JD Views. To Parallax Views with Parallax Views.
The way out is not simply to say, don't do it, just to prohibit. If nothing else, if we don't do it, others will be doing it like crazy. So, we have to confront the problem. But no, basically, I know of the great anxieties, problems, new forms of control, but it's also new forms of freedom. This is why I always emphasize that internet and all this new digital stuff, it's a very ambiguous phenomenon, but it's the field of struggle. New forms of enslavement, but at the same time, new incredible forms of freedom. We have to accept the fight with no nostalgia for old, allegedly more authentic communities or whatever. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid.